Today on the American Land Seller, we're headed to the heart of rural Nebraska to sit down with Ashley Pittman of Ironhorse Land Company. Ashley has built her career around rural residential real estate, helping buyers and sellers navigate acreage properties, country homes, and lifestyle that comes with living outside the city limits. But now she's stepping deeper into the land business, and we're going to talk about that journey today. We're going to get into what surprised her most about real estate, the transition from residential into land, building trust in small communities, and what it really takes to grow this business long term. Ashley brings a grounded perspective, strong work ethic, and a real understanding of rural living, not just from selling it, but from living it herself. So whether you're a land broker, a rural residential agent, or somebody who just loves the business of land and lifestyle properties, I think you're going to really enjoy this conversation.
Welcome to the American Land Seller Podcast with your hosts, Koby Rickertsen and Brittany Murphy. Koby is an accredited land consultant and the CEO managing broker of Ironhorse Land Company, a multi-state land brokerage specializing in farm, ranch, recreational, and development land across the heartland. Brittany is the Chief Marketing Officer of Ironhorse, bringing top-level marketing strategy, brand development, and creative execution built specifically for the land business. Each week, we bring you real-world insight and expert conversations on land sales, marketing, regulations, economics, and the trends shaping the land market across America.
Okay, Koby and our special guests, let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the American Land Seller Podcast. This is going to be fun. And this is somebody that I've known for several years, gotten to know her. She's an incredible force in the industry, and as luck would have it, just happened to have just joined the Ironhorse team. Ashley Pittman, how are you today?
Wonderful. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me. Blessed and opportunity. Keep going. I have lots of words that I could use for joining the team.
Ashley, it's been kind of an interesting journey for you. I think we could go back a little bit because I think that everybody has their own origin story when it comes into getting into real estate. And a lot of us, honestly, we are not sitting in that 7th grade classroom dreaming about open houses, right? Like a lot of people come into the real estate world a little later in life, a little longer in the tooth, maybe a little worse for wear. Talk about just how did you get your start and how did you know this was kind of one of those things you wanted to do?
So it was only 5 years ago. We moved, and then I started working as an admin in the office. I did that for a couple years. And truly, the more and more I got used to the paperwork, seeing what was coming in, this is kind of neat. Maybe I should pursue my license. And there you go. Took off from there.
So you literally got your start in the office and saw the behind the scenes, which I would say would be scare the heck out of me and make me want to run away from real estate. And instead, this really super focused you into I think I can do that,
Yeah, I figured if I could get the paperwork points down and understand the back end of things, that I could completely do the other side.
Yeah, that's smart. I don't disagree with you on that. A lot of people do it the exact opposite way. They're more interested in all the glamour of the real estate world, showings, the commissions, all the things. And I think it's interesting that you witnessed what the team was doing, and you kind of found that you maybe could have stepped up and done the same thing they're doing. That's very, very interesting. You've built quite the positive reputation in the rural, I call it rural residential space. And this is the areas that are, you go to any of the big cities in Nebraska, we call them big cities. There's really only a half of one of those, and to be real honest, in Omaha. But the larger the larger cities in our state, and there's hundreds, thousands of agents competing in those markets. But you get into Ord, Nebraska, realistically, there's not a whole lot of choices for folks out there. Talk about that journey, as being that rural residential specialist.
Gosh, it's every town is so unique. And you're right. There's not a lot of agents to choose from. There might not even be anyone that services that area truly. You have some that kind of go in, go out. But someday to be there week in and week out and know the market, it has been a blessing. And I love learning about all the small towns. Granted, you're not in one town, it's a rural area. So I've gotten to learn about a lot of unique little cities and help people that maybe don't have the opportunity to have a sole agent in their town.
I mean, and let's just talk about the elephant in the room. Through our talks and through the whole entire months long process it was, and onboarding you were one of the ones that kind of popped up as a fan favorite in our organization early on. I absolutely adore you, and I thought what you were doing was great. I was against, the houses on our website and stuff like that, but was won over by the fact that, like these rural markets do deserve, the higher horsepower marketing and things like that. And I think like for the longest time, and not to speak, like people do what they do and they have their business models and things like that. But realistically, you've got the guys, it's one agent in the town. There's really not a whole lot of choices for folks. Some of those one agents are spectacular. Some of those one agents are not as spectacular. And so being able to bring that branding power that Ironhorse has kind of built and all the connections with the technology and things like that, that's got to be a big benefit for your career.
Absolutely. Not only for me, but for the client too.
Yeah.
Just for buyers to see and take hold of the Ironhorse standard, that goes way and above what a lot of these other local agencies are doing. I love being able to share that, and you can just give more to them and they get more out of a sale that way.
Yeah, I think, well, and again, like it seems interesting. You've seen I really believe that the industry worked really, really hard to get to this point where we had kind of figured out cooperation between agencies. We had kind of figured out all these amazing things that we could do as an industry to help the clients get the best possible service. And then the last few years, there's been lawsuits. There's been, different big corporations that have kind of pulled back and said, wait, we're not going to do that anymore. And so now and what's really fun is like working in rural residential, that rural market, you kind of have not really seen the cooperation side of things too very much. It's kind of like pick your agent and then that's your agent, there's no real, hey, the buyers can have their own and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely, I call it the Wild West as far as cooperating goes. And I think bringing more knowledge to the area and any rural area is going to be helpful. I do hope to do that, encourage that more, and get a better understanding of how real estate works and how we can help them, how we can offer both sides. I look forward to being able to do that in the future and working on it now, to be honest, educating our clients, really anyone, whether you're a client or not. I hope come up, ask a question. Hey, how does this work? I would be happy to answer.
Yeah, and I think like Ironhorse is kind of born of the idea that the client and the agent both have kind of been left behind in business models nowadays, that it's, it's about the sexy brand. And some of the people, the brand is the most important thing, or the commission is the most important thing, or, having your little territory and keeping everybody out of it is the most important thing. Ironhorse kind of comes at that from the different direction of what can we do that is a high level benefit to the client? What can we do that's a high level benefit to the agents that are with us? Those are the most important assets that we have. And so, I would only imagine that had a little bit to do with your decision to maybe reach out to us and see if a match was possible.
Absolutely. I mean, when I get beneficial things, that rolls over into my clients. The more I can learn about things and stay current and up to date, that just trickles down. I can better perform for any of my clients, whether that's buyer, seller, if you're just interested in what your property's worth.
Yeah. No, like working in the rural part, especially of the state, I would imagine that relationships are probably a huge part of your job, developing those relationships, not only with your clients and your neighbors and things like that, but also with those people that hold the tools to help your clients get to where they need to go. How has that been, like maybe a joy and a pain in the rural part of the country, as far as like finding those those partnerships and those relationships with like lenders and title companies and different things in order to cover that big area that you cover?
So I will say a lot of people work with like one of those or maybe two of those. I definitely get a broad spectrum of, oh, I'm going to use this title company here. I'm going to use this lender from over here. Let me call and find out and meet some new people. It definitely ranges, and gosh, but it's been so fun having that like bowl to pick from, if you want to say. It's a handful of people now, and it's been wonderful. I can go this side, 2 hours this way, 2 hours west, and I still have somebody that could pick up the phone. Hey, what's this for title? And work with them that way. That has been really fun, and you just get to know a bigger area.
Yeah, and I think that being able to work with different, like, I think one of the problems that a lot of us have is we kind of funnel everything to the same pot, right? So I have a title company that I'm, again, it's always the client's choice, and we always make that very known to them that if they have a preference. But if they don't, I know the people that are going to take care of my folks. I'm going to funnel them that direction, or maybe in a couple of different ideas and say, here's a couple of ideas for you. But we're highly, they go highly off of our recommendation a lot of times on that kind of stuff. And I think it's interesting for you, to just by necessity have to work with different people, and you can see, well, this is what the other guys do, and my expectation is that my clients all get treated the same. How do you handle like trying to, I don't know if the word train is correct or not, but equalize, I guess, is a good thing, your clients' service through all of those vendors that you're working with?
Once you get a good start, a good handle, I say you always got to have the first one, right? And then you can kind of adjust to each one of those, like how do they work? What does their process look like? And then I keep to my own, like these are my expectations. I run through what I need. I ask them what they need in return. And then typically we don't have any issues as far as getting through the process. Now, I will say, getting things done can look a little different sometimes, but truly everyone that I've worked with has done a wonderful job.
Well, and you seem to me like the amount of getting to know you that I've had is that you're a very laid back, not that you're not a warrior for your client, but that you're also not going to get spun up over the tiniest little things, and that you seem like you're a very good spirit guide through the process of all the things with the real estate world. Would you say, like, if you're looking to a younger agent, is that something that you would say is a benefit to the industry, is to just have that kind of, guide view of real estate and not so much the pound the square pegs into the round holes type of, which I've been known to be at times?
No, I think absolutely. Like I almost look at it as educational. Let's teach, let's go over, let's handle these things. But when you come up with an issue, let's pause, take a breather. Everything will work out the way it's supposed to. We will figure it out. We'll get whatever we need accomplished. It will happen. Being optimistic, but yeah, going through those steps so there's no surprises along the way. I think that more than anything helps a lot of people go through a transaction.
Yeah. And again, like I know in my history of my time in real estate, there have been times where, like I passionately, vehemently advocate for my client, and it does come off as like stomping everybody that's involved. So it's really good to have that clear head, and that I love that what you just said, stealing it as of right now, because I don't think you have it copyrighted, but that teacher mindset, that teaching people the process, even some of those vendors that we're using sometimes just need to be educated on what our expectations are as I'm giving my client to you. And I think a lot of people really don't think that way when it comes to dealing with their clients, and in the sense of, man, we really do need to be educators, not only of the process to our clients, but also to our standards, to those in the industry that we're referring our guys to or that we're working with. That's a very smart comment, I would say.
Thank you. Education is everything. The more you can prepare, the more solid or confident you'll feel moving forward. And that's with anything.
Yeah, super smart. Let's take a break, and we will be right back. Hey, everybody.
The Land Report. The American Land Seller Podcast is proud to be sponsored by The Land Report. For landowners, investors, and land professionals who want more than headlines, the Land Report goes deeper. Market trends, data-driven insight, and long-form storytelling focused entirely on land. This is not residential real estate news. This is land. Big land, working land, legacy land. Visit thelandreport.com and see why it remains the most trusted publication in the land industry.
And welcome back to the American Land Seller Podcast. Today we're visiting, of course, with Ashley Pittman from Ironhorse Land Company. I might be, Ashley, a little bit, prejudiced or a little bit, I don't know what the word is, but I really think Ironhorse is probably one of the better companies that we've had on here.
Just maybe, just by a slight, little bit.
No, I don't know if you've listened to the podcast very much or not, but we have had some pretty impressive people on here from different companies. And so it's always fun to talk to guys about what they're doing in different parts of the world and with different companies, even locally. We've had several different ones, but it's always a good podcast to have one of our own on to talk about some really cool stuff going on in Nebraska. Ashley, let's just get going with what is one decision that changed everything, but at the time felt super small?
So making a connection with another agent. To be honest, when you start hey, a new friend comes along the way and you don't think much of it. You hang out here and there, nonchalant, you hang out, make friends, you meet other friends. That's how I ended up here.
Yeah.
That is my takeaway with that one. Connections mean so much, and meeting one new person changed my trajectory only for the better, and I'm super excited about that. I love that relationship and hope that continues, of course. Never know meeting someone where that could lead.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. I think going back to my path through the industry, of course, if you listen to this podcast, you know this. I'm a huge advocate for the Realtors Land Institute. I think that's a huge tool for anybody that's in the land world as far as getting education, finding those people, those like-minded people that feel the same way that you do or whatever about the land. And so again, that's how we ended up with Brittany Murphy, was through RLI and going to stuff and meeting her and following her on social media a little bit and talking to her every once in a while and just kind of seeing her journey. And so you just, you don't think about it at the time, but you're right. Being open to new relationships is not always a scary or bad thing. It's a lot of times it's very beneficial, especially in our business where knowing people is a lot of the business.
Oh, for sure. And being in those like-minded groups and wanting to keep moving forward with those, it's been an absolutely wonderful journey with realtors. And that's how I got started. That's how I got here.
Yeah. And that kind of, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but that, the last few years, the Realtors Association, the National Association of Realtors, really has had a really rough time internally and externally. And, I think it's interesting being from the part of the country that you're from, that you, even through your entire career, have really been an advocate to be a realtor. Talk about why that is. What do the realtors have? Do you think that maybe just being a regular agent isn't just clicking?
Sure. Ethics. I think that's huge. How you treat everyone. We're going to treat everyone the same ethically through the transaction. That is a ton educational wise. And they're always meeting and they're having a conversation and how we can make things better and have residential issues in government, how we can help that way. Gosh, there's just so many things happening even above. You have, your local level, a state level, national level. I think that gets eyes on everything, on all the details. And being part rural, I think we bring in a pieces that not everyone really gets to see. Things are a lot different out here, and bringing that viewpoint to them to help make things better for everyone has been a good opportunity.
Yeah. And to add to that, I think that the whole spirit of what the realtors, and again, there's good and bad people in every organization. It doesn't matter. I get it. I have a lot of people email me and tell me they got, screwed over by a realtor or whatever, or a real estate agent. And, but I really do think, like, from what I've seen is that they really do try and focus on cleaning a lot of that up, and the extra ethics classes and the education that they put forward for their members, and the camaraderie and the getting together, and the opportunities there. And the sad thing is, I don't think 80% of the people that are members of the organization even have any idea of what an asset they really do belong to. And so, not to get off on like selling realtors to the world, but it really does. It holds the industry again. Like, I'm about how do we improve the industry, and the realtors really do try and hold the higher standards for the industry, and self-policing and stuff like that.
I think when you can have those professional conversations with someone else that's doing what you are, it can only make everyone better. It's only a benefit.
Yeah. And then again, like, knowing those people, even if it's outside of your own company, that you can call, that are doing things the right way because you've met them and you've talked to them and you've watched, their business. And so, like, knowing that you can call. I can't tell you how many times I've called other brokers throughout my career and said, hey, I hate to bother you, but here's what I'm dealing with, and what do you think? And they're always intentionally steering me to what they believe is the right direction. And, even when it's not something I want to hear sometimes. But it's a good organization. And I think, like you mentioned, the political action, I think people don't realize in our industry, like, what we're guarding for them, and especially if you're just a real estate agent, that you just got your license, and there's no connection to anything beyond your community and what you're doing and your local, comps and all that stuff. You don't realize that, like, there's over 50 bills that are introduced just in the Nebraska legislature alone that have to do with property ownership and property rights. And there's a group of people, that raise money and go out, spend time and energy trying to fight for the rights of property owners. And so I think that there's more to our industry than what I think a lot of people realize.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up too. I wish that our clients, I think sometimes they get the wrong view of agents. We were really advocating for them, and through realtors even more so. But we're there to protect the client. All of our, through the whole transaction, it's truly what we're there for.
Yeah, I think that's the focus. Again, I'm not going to sit here and apologize for making money as a byproduct of that, because I have a lot of time and energy invested into it. And probably, most people have no idea, because we're not telling them what we do, because it's a lot. What we are doing behind the scenes to help get the transactions across the finish line. And not only that, but also helping so that your house is holding its value, and that your property taxes aren't going ridiculously high, and and questioning our leaders at every, like, really, do we need to add more onto the closing process, or more onto the tax burden of our clients and of the landowners in the state and the nation? So, yeah, great conversation there. And again, like, I think just another example of Ironhorse aligning themselves with an organization that benefits clients overall. So, what surprised you most about being a real estate agent, changing gears just a little bit? What was one of the things that you got into it and you're like, wow, I did not see that coming?
Okay, remember I started on the admin side.
Yeah.
Truly, until you get started and going out there and doing the work and talking to the clients, it is a whole new world. I don't care how much you can go to class, how much you can prepare. Having those conversations is a lot different. So I think truly learning to do what it is we do, you do that in the field. You do it while you're working. Yeah, as much as you can read and anything else, I guess it shouldn't have surprised me, but having those conversations can be a lot different than what you would ever imagine. Sitting in front of the computer, going through the paperwork, like, oh yeah, you just go down the line, talk about all this stuff. No, that is truly not usually how that goes.
Easy money, Ashley. It's easy money. You can do it. Like, I tell people all the time, you think your job's crazy, no matter what it is. My job is so crazy that I can have a client watching the Chiefs play the Broncos and get a Rocket Mortgage commercial come on, and all of us, and just out of boredom during the commercial, get pre-qualified for a couple $100,000 and need to be looking at houses by the end of Sunday. And so I didn't even realize when they woke up Sunday morning that they even were interested in buying a home until Rocket Mortgage or one of those mortgage online mortgage brokerage is pre-qualified. Now, let me just preface this. I am not by any means, Rocket Mortgage is not a sponsor of our show. I do not, I don't recommend them. I don't not recommend them. I'm just going to put that out there. But they're just one of them that advertises during football games. And so, again, it's a crazy business. And when you're dealing with those people that have never bought a property before, they just know they have the money for it. It can be a lot of education, as you said before, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's dial it back a little bit. Let's talk and have a conversation about what you're doing exactly and expectations. Expectations and learning what's going to come next are huge.
That conversation about what do you want?
Yeah.
And again, I was always like very available when I was in the residential world. I didn't mind showing 10, 12, 15 houses if that was the market that we were in to get, and I think that people need to go look at a couple before they realize what they really want. And I always thought it was my job just to remember the goods and the bads when they were going through. I could just really focus in on, they said they like this, they said they hated this. And then as we kind of narrowed it down, I was like, okay, well, you said this was a problem for you in the first house, now it's not a problem anymore. And so it's just definitely an interesting career to have, but fun one and a rewarding one. I mean, I think talk about the time, you definitely went to sit at a closing table with a first time home buyer, probably one of the best days of your life besides buying your own first home, I would guess.
Yeah. There's nothing better than seeing how joyful they are to be taking that next step. There's tons of emotions going on. They're confident in what they're doing. And afterwards, you're moving in. There's no place like home. I mean, and that's truly that feeling for that day makes you want to get up and do another one. Let's go through another transaction. Let's have another first time home buyer. There's not another feeling like it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That was one of the addictive things about being in the residential world. And, when you go specialize into land, that doesn't go away because there's a lot of people that, grew up hunting or grew up riding four-wheelers or grew up, boating, whatever that was. And it's just as fun to be able to help people go through, and it's a little bit more of a challenge, but it's just as fun to be able to help people realize their dream of owning a recreational property somewhere in, Nebraska or whatever, whether it be for hunting or for owning horses or whatever that looks like. And it's just a different path to get there, but it's still just as rewarding to help people realize those goals that they've had and all the hardship that they went through to save that money, and get to where they're at. So, what's one thing you wish folks would know more about the real estate profession?
I think that I'm going to circle back about us advocating for them. I think that's a big one. And I guess connection, it should be more about connection with people. And I'm truly there to help no matter what.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. I think, maybe you could add to that, like a pre-qualification letter doesn't mean you're really qualified. That might be one. It's a good step in the right direction. And you definitely need to have that, before you go look at houses. But
absolutely. That's always helpful.
I think that when they get that pre-qualification, they're like, whoa, we can go spend $500,000. And that's not always the case. But
have a mini celebration.
Yeah, just a mini,
a mini. You got started.
Don't let it change your life. It's a good start, but let's get going. Ashley, let's take a quick break and we will be.
The American Land Seller Podcast is proud to be sponsored by Ironhorse Land Company. At Ironhorse, land is not a side business. It is all we do. From farms and ranches to recreational and development properties, our team brings deep land expertise, boots on the ground experience, and high quality marketing to every listing. Whether you own land today or are planning for the future, Ironhorse Land Company helps landowners make confident, informed decisions. Visit ironhorselandcompany.com to learn more.
All right, we're back with Ashley Pittman from Ironhorse Land Company. Ashley, you still good? You got one more segment in you? You're not having to run out? And I know you've got live on a farm and got lots of chores you got to do. So Can we get you at a good time?
Yep, all good. I got farrier coming, but you're good. You got my morning.
All right. Let's talk about something near and dear to my heart. Let's talk about land sales. Okay. I think, and I may be putting some words in your mouth, but I think one of the other things that drew you to maybe and reaching out to Ironhorse was that real goal in your career to add that land sales aspect to your resume. And I know you've done some stuff and you've got some development stuff that you've worked through and things like that. But let's just really dig into like what does land sales mean to you, first of all, and then I'll have a follow-up question after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a connection to the land. I grew up on a small acreage with horses. I've always been drawn to that. And like it's an acreage and maybe not a lot, but it's always meant home and just having a little bit of space. So that connection goes deep, I guess, and there's always a draw to that. An appreciation for having that little bit of land goes a long ways. I've always been drawn to a little bit of acreage, I guess, and being able to do kind of your own thing there.
Yeah, you have a lot more freedom, good or bad. Like I always when we're working on developments and things like that, I always tell people think thoughtfully about your covenants and restrictions because whatever you don't put on there could end up in your neighbor's yard at some point. Because you just, the only time you can control is when you're developing those initial controls. Living in the country, you're absolutely right. You do have an awful lot of freedom to live the way you want to have the things that you want to have. You've got a little bit more space to spread out. And when you're talking about acreages, first, definitely, and some that fits into sometimes those recreational properties, it's kind of fun to have that freedom.
Freedom and connection. I mean, the biggest thing to me, there's just a connection about taking care of the land you own too. I've always liked that idea.
Yeah. Some of the things like, especially with us, based in Nebraska and kind of where our Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota right now, where our listings are at. We deal a lot with agriculture, like production agriculture. And in that bucket, I always put cattle production and crop production. Are you looking forward to that aspect of diving into more of that production agriculture sales business?
Absolutely. I grew up in Gibbon, so that's farmland through and through.
Yeah.
We're now in Stewart, which is ranch country. Still a lot of farmland that I didn't realize up here. But absolutely. I mean, that's what drives our state and is very important to all of our local communities.
Yeah, there's a lot to know, I think, and a lot of people miss that, but there's an awful lot to know when it comes to selling land, especially if you're dealing with production ag land. And I think that a lot of people think they'll go get their real estate license because they were a farmer when they were a kid, and and it's going to be easy for them. I know from knowing you that you definitely do not have that take on land sales. What are your plans to get yourself boned up and educated in order to feel confident stepping out there with that investor or that producer and representing their property in a land sale?
Absolutely. Rubbing elbows with the experts. So taking time to get educated on what the important factors are in each one of those different ag businesses, whether it's ranching, farming. But I look you and Brian. I mean, right there are two resources right within my company that I can go to and get an idea or a better idea and grasp of everything that needs to be handled.
Yeah, and I think taking those baby steps like you're doing in the sense of already volunteering to go ride around with us when we're on listing appointments and showings and stuff like that, if we can make it work, and being just like you've been your entire career, very curious and open to the education aspect of it, and I think a lot of folks, it's just like when you started in your residential world and you said that yourself during this thing, I watched the paperwork and I thought, well, just check off all the boxes. It's pretty easy. Just go walk through a house and be like, kitchen. Yep. It has one bathroom, 1.5. Yep. I've got that. And people will just buy it. And the realization that the licensing is the keep you out of jail portion of it, the actual, doing the job is a totally different world.
Absolutely. So if I can see those conversations happening, go through some of that, know what to expect, have the typical client questions come up, and be there and have all that information firsthand, I think will be very beneficial. This is not something I want to wing it and go try and do.
Yeah, no, you don't. I've seen a lot of things play out really badly. And again, like when I started in the industry, I did I started out with residential, and I will, never apologize for that because it was a great opportunity for me to learn the industry. It was such a great experience with just dealing with clients and things like that. And during the time after I initially started, I just continued that education and going to RLI, going to all like the UNL has different things that you can go to throughout the year, the extension service, all that stuff, and just getting to know the industry and the people that are involved in it. And those bankers, title companies, the attorneys, all those guys are great resources for education too. I really appreciate how you're going about it. And I think that it's going to be smart and it's going to be a big impact on your career going forward. So we're super excited to see what we can get you mixed up in and see where your career goes. Ironhorse is Brittany and I are both, and Brittany, by Brittany, I mean Brittany Murphy, our COO. We are both like marketing gurus. Like that's where our passion is at. I always say that I'm not a salesperson, or I'm not a sell stuff. I market really, really well. And then I have the opportunity to break people into properties and show them stuff until they find what they want. Really don't, I'm not a real salesy person. The marketing aspect of the industry, like talk about what your approach to that is, like from the standpoint of you get a listing, how are you trying to get that in front of as many people as you can, especially in your challenge of being in rural Nebraska?
Absolutely. Social media, always huge, going to the different local groups and being within those, participating in that, always helpful. Being in touch with chamber, you'd be surprised how well still your good old listing flyer piece of paper goes in your local gas stations. I think those are actually get looked at a lot more than people think. And then just talking to people, going out, hey, what's available, what's new, emails, or just staying in contact. I mean, staying in touch. You might not find something that's on the market right now. Keeping contact and some phone calls, reaching back out, hey, something else came up. This is what's going on now.
Yeah, I think that's like something smart too that you just said was the old school, like flyers, going out, handing those out to the different area, gas stations, bars, whatever, coffee shops, especially ASCS office for us, I'm dating myself, the FSA, Farm Service Agency. But all those things, really do make a big difference on, getting your stuff in front of people because, a lot of times those banks, there are producers or investors that are sitting in those waiting rooms for a little bit. And if your booklets or flyers or whatever are sitting on their coffee table, it's just natural for them to just pick those up and read them. And so I think that's kind of something a lot of people I think have forgotten about. So
yeah, I think the jump from AI to that, it's kind of funny where we're at right now in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. People, like being a real estate agent, I always tell people, and again, it sounds arrogant, but it doesn't mean to be because I want to put people in a mindset. But you really got to think of yourself kind of as a local celebrity. How do you balance like what you're doing on social media, on your personal stuff with what your business is? And like, I know internally a very politically opinionated person. Most people won't see that on anything that I put out. If you have a private conversation with me and it's appropriate, you'll hear about it because I have opinions. But, like what does that look like? Sharing your family stuff, sharing your political opinions, and sharing your business stuff out there on that social platforms.
Gosh, I really keep to myself quite a bit. My side of social media is going to mostly be trucks, kids, and animals. Politically wise, I'll probably have a private conversation with most people about that stuff. Unless I see someone make a good speech, maybe just about people in general, I might post a few things like that. Business wise, I like sharing all the ups and downs everywhere, things learned, things that are going on right now.
I think you just definitely are a very good educator overall. And I think that's kind of, like the process, educating people on the process is a lot of times a very difficult thing. And being able to be vulnerable out there and share some of the struggles with your wins, like most agents are like, won again, here's another sale, under contract, just listed, And what we're seeing is a lot of that is like sharing it depends on what class you're in and what day. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, the story's over. We're back to we want to be educated. I don't really, I see a lot more interaction on my stuff where I'm sharing the story of a property. And again, like that's the fun part about it is walking around with those landowners, talking to them about their history, their family's history, when they got here, and you can just kind of see in people's eyes over there is where, my kid, my son learned how to drive a tractor on this field here and, like the different stories. It's a lot of connection to the land world and the residential world by that storytelling along with that education.
Yeah, I think connection is everything. What happened, the experiences anyone has had, all draw back to whether it's home or land. There's a connection there.
Off the wall question for you. If you could have a superpower and it was maybe useless, maybe what would that be? What kind of a superpower would you have?
Okay. It's gonna be pretty much useless because we're not horse-drawn carriage anymore. I'd be a true horse whisperer. That would be amazing.
And you could talk to horses. I don't know. There's a lot of them out there. That might not be as useless as you think. I would hire you for sure because I could never understand what they were thinking when I was a big horse owner back in the day. But I guess we'll just finish it up with this question. But what are like the top 2 or 3 people that have influenced you and why?
So it'd be my grandma, my parents, and my husband. My grandma, because she was a go-getter, do something every day. Like no matter what, get out, go do something. And she enjoyed outside. So she was on her homestead till 102. And had about 5 acres. Now, granted, she wasn't taking care of that 5 acres alone, but she would take her walker and walk outside, pick up sticks. I mean, like, go get her, go do something, make the day productive. And then my parents, I mean, how can you not? They raised me, work ethic, get things done, integrity. I can't say enough about what they taught me. And then my husband, just for support. Yeah, everybody has, those transactions that you need to get off your chest and, hey, this is going on. It's fine. You'll be fine. You'll figure it out. You always do. So having that behind you is always encouraging and helpful.
Yeah, that's really cool that you have that because it is not a lie. There are the ones where, whether it be some banker that's trying to be on vacation while you're trying to get your people closed or whatever, like whatever in the industry that throws at you that, oh, by the way, or 16 that come at you after you do a home inspection or property inspection or, it's definitely great to have that support group behind you. I'm blessed that my wife and I are both in the industry. So there's a lot of understanding there of, being able to like sit down and just vent about things once in a while, but you got to be careful not to abuse people with that. But definitely great to have that avenue. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for taking the time today. I think it's been a great conversation. I think something that people are really going to learn a little bit more about definitely you, but about some of the stuff maybe they didn't think about that happens behind the scenes in the industries. You got anything to get off your chest before it may be a while before we get you back on the podcast?
Well, I hope that's not the case, but I just look forward to all the experiences with Ironhorse and the opportunity, some growth, and getting to know my land a little better.
Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting for you. I think there's a lot. I think, like I keep thinking hearing 60% of farms and ranches are going to change hands in the next 5 years just because of where the age of the landowners is at. So it's a really big opportunity to be able to help grow Ironhorse. And we do appreciate how patient you've been with, as we grow, we're learning and adding new things. And it may not be coming as fast and as you want it, but, we're trying to get it done correctly and not just done to be done. So appreciate all that, and we will see you all down the road.
As we wrap up another episode of the American Land Seller Podcast, thank you for spending part of your week with us. For more episodes, resources, and updates, visit www.americanlandseller.com. And be sure to find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you found value in today's conversation, please like, subscribe, follow, rate, and review the show on whatever app you are listening or watching on. It helps more landowners and land professionals find the podcast. You can also connect with us on social media for updates, new episodes, and behind-the-scenes content. Until next week, Koby and Brittany wish you success in all your land endeavors. God bless you, and have a great week.
The American Land Seller Podcast is brought to you in part by The Land Report. The Land Report is the premier publication covering land ownership, land markets, and the people shaping the future of land in America. From farmland and ranches to timber, conservation, and legacy properties, The Land Report delivers deep reporting, trusted insight, and long-form storytelling focused entirely on land. Learn more at thelandreport.com. We are also proud to be sponsored by Ironhorse Land Company, a multi-state land brokerage specializing in farm, ranch, recreational, and development land across the heartland. Built by land professionals, Ironhorse Land Company sets the iron standard through high-quality marketing, real-world land expertise, and a boots-on-the-ground approach that puts landowners first. To learn more, visit ironhorselandcompany.com.